Welcome back to the Charismatic Voice. Electric Callboy, or if some have referred to as the Ionic Telephone Club, has a new hit single coming out later this month. But before I check that out, I wanted to go back 40 short years to the 1980s hit that put them on the map, Hypa Hypa. Will their electronic workout music with all their spandex stand the test of time? Let's get to it. That mullet is amazing. Okay, sorry, I have to pause it. A lot going on there in the beginning. We're going to go back to the beginning. We're going to go back because we're going to analyze this as we always do. So first we have two vocalists. We have Nico and Kevin. So Nico is the clean vocals and Kevin is the harsh vocals. So Nico is the Hypa Hypa, pretty and you like ya. And Kevin is the one that's screaming and growling and jumping up with this amazing mullet, I have to say. So a lot going on. We're going to go back and we're going to pause it a little bit, and we're going to go back again and pause it a little bit more, and we're gonna break down everything that we're hearing here. And the snapping is in unison with the drum tapping on the side of the kick drums, the snare. Probably the snare. So the drumstick hitting the side of the snare is at the same time as the snapping. Really good in unison. Let's go back and listen to that again. So, if you noticed, this song is super sticky already in the first 30 seconds because of repeating the phrases, Hypa Hypa, you're pretty and I like ya. And so that gets in your head. I'm sure this is going to be the chorus throughout the entirety of the song because it's so dang good. But Hypa Hypa, you're pretty and you like it. It's already, and with the tapping and the snapping, I just want to get into it. I can't do the mullet though. I'm not one to really mess with my hair too much. Those mullets are amazing though, and I think that's their power. That's like their triforce. I'm going to get into this a little bit more. There's a fire on the floor anytime you went to club. Your money mounts, okay, I know that was only 10 seconds before I paused it again, but I had to. So, Electric Callboy makes harsh vocals so much fun. If you remember in Pump It, they just had so much fun with those harsh vocals and the pumping the iron and everything that was going on, and I'm seeing it here. It's all over again. There is a low moment in here where there's particular sounds being made by the false folds, and I'm going to go back and we're going to listen to it in just a second. But the false vocal folds, otherwise known as the ventricular folds, for those of you who aren't aware of the things in your larynx, they're nestled just above the true folds, which are just called the true vocal folds. And he has a brilliant way of modulating these to make these specific sounds. And we're going to go back and we're going to listen to that again. You're gonna be my girl all night long. There's a fire on the floor anytime you went to club. Your money mounts, hypnotized right. You are my drug, you're everything I want. I will give my soul or a girl like you with one. On your well, let me see you shake your ass like a. So right there, you had a little bit of mixture of some of those cleans and then those harsh vocals, including the gorilla growls, as we call them. And there's it's. We're gonna go back and listen to that one more time. You are my drug, you're everything I want. I will give my soul or a girl like you with one. On your well, let me see you shake your ass like a. I want the juice. I wish I had a pair of sunglasses right now or a convertible. There's a mouth popping part that's happening right here. I heard it for about a second, maybe 2 seconds. I'm going to go back and we're going to listen to that transition one more time. But it sounds like either a synthesizer or mouth popping. I'm not entirely sure. Interesting. So it's one of three things. It's either a synthesizer, it's either mouth pops, which we do a lot in beatboxing, and I could show you, but I'm not that good yet. I have some other videos that you can go listen or watch where I do some beatboxing, or it's a ping pong table. It's one of those three things. And so it depends on the mouth shape. When you're beatboxing or when you're doing this in front of a microphone, it really depends on the mouth shape. So we can do it right now, you and me. And we can do a little example. It's kind of like, think of it as a violin or a cello. Both are string instruments. One is larger and one is smaller. Cello, the larger instrument, has more of a rounder shape, more of a full body shape, whereas the violin has a smaller shape. So it depends on your mouth size, whether you're open and going, or if it's a smaller mouth and going, you have different sounds that are coming out at the same time. So you can also do it by tapping your cheek while your mouth is open and make sort of the teardrop. Like, you probably couldn't hear anything. I'm not very good at that. But the bigger space creates a lower pitch, and a larger space, the smaller space creates a bigger pitch. Higher pitch. Hypa Hypa, you're pretty and I like you. These guys have so much energy. In fact, if you go back here, the drummer is hitting the snare without even hitting the snare. That is impressive. I just had to pause it. I can see why this was a hit in the 1980s. It is fantastic. It gets me a little bit sweaty. I'm sorry, honey. Gets me a little bit sweaty. But yeah, this is fantastic. I talked a little bit about the mullets before, but these clean vocals by Nico, they are very, very good. And let me tell you why I love them. It sounds like to me that he has a lot of practice and training to get those highs where you want those highs to be. I talk about this a lot. You'll hear it in interviews, but that training, especially in the form of straws. So if you have a straw with you, go ahead and get a straw, and you blow into the straw the tune that you want. We're going to blow in Hypa Hypa. And so using your straw, you're creating constriction in your vocal folds, which is giving that practice and making your vocal folds a little bit more, just a little bit stronger. It's like a muscle. You can't use your hand if you don't use your hand. So we're going to try this again. It's a flawless technique. We're going to keep going. This we're going to go back because there's some parallel octaves that happen there. I just wanted to go a little bit further. But once again, these guys, they're dancing. I got lost in the moment. But we're going to go back just a little bit because there's some parallel octaves that are happening here. And you hear it. Higher is quieter, and so the lower is a little bit louder. There's really good mixing that's happening here. If the higher was a little bit louder, it would completely dominate what's happening in the mix. But they did such a good job. This doubling is so phenomenal. Listen for it. I almost missed it. You hear that right there? You hear that right there? The lower just sort of passed right over the higher. It's fantastic. Fantastic mix. Step by step, getting closer to you. Step by step, getting closer to you. Dance, baby, dance. I wanna dance. Wow, did you hear Nico's voice right there? It almost sounded like a Barbie doll. Let's go back and listen to that again. Ooh. Those are some phenomenal grunts just there. Kevin is also a phenomenal vocalist, and he's been with the band a little bit longer than Nico. So those grunting noises he's making, it's coming from air pressure behind the glottis, which is opening right between your vocal folds. And the more air pressure creates a louder sound. And it creates a bit of abrasion on the vocal folds to make this happen. But it sounds a little bit like, well, the best way to create these low vocals, these growls, for any of you that are trying to learn how to sing, and especially in the lower registers, the best way you can possibly learn to sing these low growls and gurgles and demon sounds like you hear with Will Ramos in Lorna Shore is acid reflux. You definitely want to have chili burger or something that's very acidic right before you scream or do any of these sorts of recordings, because the more acid reflux you have, the harsher your vocal folds sound because of all of that agitation. So definitely want to have acid reflux in any form that you possibly can before you sing.
That's a terrible idea.
We're going to keep going. Okay, that was a phenomenal fry scream, and we're going to go back and listen to that about 2 more times. I have to say, it means this fry scream, which means that it's being created in that higher range of the vocal tract, probably around the arapaglotic folds, which is also called the arytenoid cartilage. There's no phonation from the true vocal folds here. So there's no wacka 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 happening that's being created by an identifiable pitch. But the phonation is happening from a happening higher with different flesh flaps or meat flaps, as we like to say, which creates that distorted sound. Let's go back and listen to that 2 more times. Do you hear that? Do you hear that? That those flaps going wacka 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 as he's just screaming into the microphone. It's phenomenal. It's really, really good. Okay. I can't do that. I will say this video reminds me a lot of LMFAO and their song Sexy and I Know It. It's on my playlist. I listen to it every time I work out. So do my friends. It's fantastic. I'm sexy and I know it. I'm sexy and I know it.
I work out.
It's phenomenal. And this video, it looks like it's a cookie cutter, but I think LMFAO ripped these guys, because obviously 1980s. It's a bit. Ooh. Whoa. Whoa. Okay. We're going to go back and listen to each of those individual screams. They do remind me of Will Ramos. And we did just put a camera down his throat, which is amazing. And we got to hear something similar. So I know anatomically what's happening in there, or astrologically. And so we're going to go back through these individually. We won't pause on each one, but we'll take a look at these. But these are where the different folds are coming together and creating that friction in order to allow air pressure through to make these sounds. I'm going to go back.
What pitch are they?
And I don't know who this new person is. Okay, so we have two big notes I want to talk about here. We've got one on the lower end here. Sounds about right. And one on the upper end here. Okay, there we go. Found it. So the upper end sounds like it's an A3, which, it's not that impressive. But the bottom end, that was a J7. And as we all know from J7s, there's only one other person in the world that can do that. Let's keep going. That sounds like a horror movie. Crazy. Electric Callboy and Hypa Hypa have me stunned again. Between the synthesizer mouth pops, Kevin's harsh vocals, Nico's singing hole, and those clean vocals, oh my goodness. The pelvic thrusts and the mullet hairdos, I want to go back to the 80s and work out all over again. If you would like to see me do other analyses, there's a link right over to my right. And Electric Callboy has new music coming out later this month. Bye.